Good evening and welcome to part two of our day long.
Tom, folks are still filing in. Just
Okay,
give
well,
them a couple seconds.
we'll
Let's
give them
watch.
okay, we're going
Yep.
to let everybody enter the room here. We're zooming on in and got to make room for everybody. Maybe move over a little bit. That's one thing Dan does in his concert. He gets people to move around and
Yeah.
and share a comfortable space so that we're all on board for a great evening of entertainment, inspiration, and communal gathering. So, welcome to part two of the fourth annual open house Zoom for the American Pilgrims on the Camino. And so we're now going a little farther around the world. We were in Australia earlier today, talking with Bill Bennett and his folks, and now we're going back to Australia and seeing Dan Mullins live from Sydney. And it's already Sunday there, right, Dan?
Yeah, and it's a fabulous day. Tomorrow's a great day, everyone.
So we've got something to look forward to. You can always show us what we can
Yeah.
look forward to. So tomorrow, there it's Sunday, December the 15th. And so, welcome to everyone. We hope that you enjoyed the event this afternoon and this morning. And tonight we're in for a real treat with Dan Mullins, who's been so faithful to the American Pilgrims on the Camino. I think this is the fourth year in a row you joined us, Dan. It's great, and you've got some special things to talk about and some inspirations to share. And I already see the names popping up in chat. It's all the folks that were on the Camino with us in May are all popping in and they're all chatting across the chat board. But we won't have you be distracted right now, Dan. Why don't you give us your welcoming comments? Because I'm sure you've got things on your mind you'd like to tell everyone.
I have, Tom. Hey, thank you so much for having me. The American Pilgrims on the Camino holds a very special place in my heart. I've been to two of the conferences, one in Lake Tahoe when COVID hit, and one in Texas this year, which was just a fabulous, fabulous event. And I really have a very warm place in my heart for Americans. Ever since I was a little kid, was fascinated with America and Americans, and watching the Brady Bunch and Happy Days and Gilligan's Island. And it was like this magical world, like this incredible place. I always imagined going there and meeting the amazing people there. And I've been so lucky to have been able to do that. And in particular, the American Pilgrims on the Camino, and was just blown away by being gifted a lifetime membership of the American Pilgrims on the Camino earlier this year at the conference in Texas, which was just amazing. So I'm so pleased to be here. I'm going to sing you about half a dozen songs today or tonight, your time. It's lunchtime on Sunday here, and as I said, tomorrow for you is a beautiful day because it's a beautiful day here. And I want to tell a little story. So in May this year, I walked the Camino from Leon to Santiago de Compostela with 40 something really special people. There was a big group of us, and we did concerts each night, and we walked each day together, and we grew to know one another and love one another and learn from our experiences and our sharing of common ground and different interests, and walked together some days. We walked apart some days, but we had little concerts each night. I can see in the chat there's people all touching base now with one another. And we were walking out of Rabanel to a little place called El Acebo. You most probably know, as you come down that quite treacherous hill, it's all this kind of slate, I think. It's a very shiny surface of stone, breaks up easily. And I was really struggling. I use walking poles, and I thought it was very difficult. And I sort of thought, I'll get this over and done with and get into town. We were doing a show that night in El Acebo, the albergue on the left as you come into the old town there. There's really only not much there in the town, but on either side, there's a bar and a restaurant on either side, doing a show on the left that night. And I came into town and I was absolutely really exhausted. And I was delighted to see that there was a big crew already there of my family and friends who I was walking with. And I sat down, and, there's a group of people that here. And no sooner had I sat down, about 10 minutes later, someone said, "Sarah's fallen over. Sarah's had a fall and hurt herself." And just like that, 4 of the people in my group jumped up and said, "Let's go." And everybody, and it was such a beautiful moment of togetherness and camaraderie and pilgrimage. These 4 people, they charged up the mountain, straight back up the mountains, no questions asked. We're going up to help Sarah. And up they went, and they finally got to Sarah. She had cut her knee open pretty bad, actually, needed stitches. And in fact, they ended up calling an ambulance, and the ambulance went up to see her. But while they were sitting together, the 4 of them, they patched up the knee and waited for the ambulance. And they were looking out across to Galicia, and there was snow on the mountains. And the night before, I had sung the Fleetwood Mac song "Landslide." And almost all together, just kind of quietly looking across, they all said to one another, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills. And so that night we gathered in El Acebo, and Sarah came back from hospital. Her knee was all bandaged up, and she wasn't able to walk for the next few days, maybe even a week. But I was so touched by everybody's kindness and generosity. And I'm sure that your experience of the Camino is the same as mine. It brings about a kindness that you perhaps don't show at home. You wouldn't necessarily tend to someone's feet at home, or maybe you wouldn't buy someone's dinner at home, or let somebody in front of you in the queue at the supermarket, but you do on the Camino. And once you do on the Camino, you take it home with you. And I just remember that night in El Acebo, the host said, we won't do the concert in the beer garden out on the deck as you come into town. It's on the left with umbrellas and stuff. We're going to do it in the garden. So we went down, and there was his sort of backyard, really, and it was cut into the side of the mountain. And so where I played, behind me were all the spring flowers on the mountains. One mountain was orange, and one was purple, and one was yellow, and one was gold. And the view behind us was actually looking back east. So you can imagine, as the sun set in the west, the colors were all changing on this backdrop behind me as I played this 2-hour show. And the local mayor came to welcome us. Well, we don't know what he said in his speech. He could have been saying, "Get these people out of here. They're driving me insane." But we don't know. But he made a speech and welcomed us, we hope. And all of the local people came and danced with us and sang with us and had a big barbecue for us. And it was just so beautiful, such a lovely night. I thought I want to bring some of that spirit to this open house today. I really wanted to, so I'm going to play it for you. Now, forgive me, there's a setting in Zoom that makes my guitar sound like it's a bit underwater, but that doesn't matter. It's not a big problem or issue. But this is for Sarah. Took my love, climbed the mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills. The landslide broke down.
Oh, mirror in the sky, what is in the child in my heart rise above? Can I handle the ocean changing tides? Handle the seasons all my life. I've been afraid of changing since I built my life around you. 'Cause time gets older, children get older, I'm getting older too. Cause I've been afraid of changing, so I build my life around you. The time makes you older, children get older, I'm getting older too. Well, took my love, took it down. I climbed the mountain and I turned around. And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills. I need no family brought me down. In the sky, what is love? And the child within my heart rise above. Children get older, I'm getting older too.
We sang, it was so fantastic. We sang that song so many times, and Sarah came to my house for dinner. She came here to Sydney, and we had dinner together, and we sang songs together here in Sydney. Actually, I'm doing a show this afternoon at that pub where we went, Sarah, at the Cat and Fiddle, doing a show this afternoon, which will be a lot of fun. So I wanted to tell you also that it was such a significant event for me to be able to go to the American Pilgrims on the Camino conference in May, March in Texas, because just over a year before that, I lost my voice. And when I say I lost my voice, I don't mean I just kind of got sick one weekend and my voice is a bit croaky or whatever. Amy Donsela, don't go crook at me. I'm not going to replicate my things. You won't crook at me, Amy. And so I lost my voice because I had a virus and I put a 6mm scar on one of my vocal cords. And so it just didn't get any better. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse until it got to a stage where I couldn't speak at all. In fact, it was quite scary. So I went to a doctor and he said, we have to do a surgical procedure. We're going to inject steroids into your vocal cords. And I said, okay, do what you want. And he did it. And then he said afterwards, oh, it didn't work. It didn't work. You'll never sing again, you know. And I said, wait, what? I didn't say anything because I wasn't allowed to speak, but I said, oh my gosh. And so I went home and I thought, well, I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to take, that's not going to be my diagnosis. So I went to a speech therapist to learn how to talk again. And then after about 3 months, she said, I think you're ready to sing again. So I went to a singing teacher. Both of these women were absolute superstars. And they taught me and nurtured me and supported me and gave me the skills I needed to get my voice back again. And I had been in that time saying, well, I'm not going to just sit around doing nothing. I really need to work on something. my wife says I always have to have a project, and it's true. I always have to have a project. So I started to work on a new album, and that album called Pilgrim was released about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. It's done particularly well. It's been on the charts 3 times. It keeps dropping out of the charts, but it keeps climbing back in, which is pretty cool. And so we recorded that album with the funds provided by the people who walked with us in May on the Camino. So it was this combined collective love and support that made it happen. And in our Camino from Leon to Santiago de Compostela, did I just see someone say I'm a speech therapist? Because I tell you something, speech therapists are superstars, man. They're fantastic. And because I couldn't talk to you, right, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for Cecilia. And Cecilia, mind you, who is my speech therapist. Cecilia is the patron saint of musicians, Saint Cecilia. So when she messaged me and said, I'm the speech therapist recommended by your specialist, I said, well, Saint Cecilia. She said, nobody's ever said that to me before. So we got on famously. But where was I? Oh, yeah. So we made the record. So on the Camino between Leon and Santiago in May this year, I would sing songs from the record. So I'd did a show in Trabadello, did a show in Astorga. I think I did 12 shows out of 14 days, something like that. Ravenel did a show in the beer garden in Ravenel. Did a show in a barn outside of Sarria, which was spectacular, even though I had a really bad tummy bug. We did these fantastic shows. So each night I tried to introduce another song from the album that these beautiful people were helping to produce. And one of the songs that everybody loved was a song called Mr. Reliable, because I'd written it on the back of a piece of paper next to my bed because Jesus came to me in a dream. And so I quickly wrote it down, and Elvis was in that dream. My little brothers were in that dream. And out of it, I wrote at the bottom of the page, in the middle of my sleep, I wrote, you will be Mr. Reliable. And I thought, Mr. Reliable, that's kind of odd. Anyway, so I got up the next day, and over the course of the next few weeks, I wrote the song, put it all together and built it. Because quite often you don't write a song, you build it, because there's all different parts, come from different ideas and concepts and what have you. And so I ended up with this song called Mr. Reliable. And it became a favorite of everybody as we walked this Camino in May. And I said, oh, well, you know, how fantastic. It got to the very last day in Santiago, and the producer of the album was one of Australia's leading record producers, messaged me and said, I've listened to the 14 songs that you've sent over, Dan. These are the 10 we're going to do. And Mr. Reliable wasn't on the list. So on the very last night in Santiago, in this little bar, I said, oh, I'm going to sing this for you, but I might not play it anymore because it didn't make the record. There was protest and horror and, you know, all this unrest. What do you mean Mr. Reliable's not going to make the record? I said, well, you know, it didn't make the record. The producer said, oh, there was protests. And so I said, oh, well, you know, he gets the final say. You know, he's in charge of the record. And anyway, we were making the record. We'd finished 9 songs, and we were about to record a song that I had actually written in Chicago when I was there for the Camino conference in March. I'd written a song, and I said, well, you know, to the producer, maybe we could have another think about Mr. Reliable. And he said, Dan, it's your call. And I just thought of all those people who were with me on that Camino, on that journey, and I wanted to honor them. I wanted to respect them and say thank you to them. So Mr. Reliable made the record. Hey, did I just see Tom or Joe? Did I just see that there's an audio issue? Is that the guitar? Is it because it's that setting that takes the musician? It squelches the guitar.
Yeah. Is there a way to turn down the volume on the guitar? Is that?
I can turn down the volume on the guitar. Yeah.
It seems like when you sing louder, it gets more distorted, and when the guitar is louder, it gets a little more distorted. It might be the auto limiting or something like that.
Beg your pardon?
It might be the audio automatic thing. It's when it gets too loud.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It's my settings are all to musician settings. It's the same settings I always use.
Okay.
I mean, I can take everything out and just talk into the phone, but that's not going to help it.
Yeah.
Is that any better? Let's turn my guitar off.
Yeah, I can't hear the guitar at all.
Is that the... No, oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll push on and I'll maybe play the guitar here. How's that? Tom, Joe?
Yeah, can't hear it at all.
It's like, yeah, we can't.
Yeah. No, because my settings are on musician settings. These are the settings I always use. So unless it's something your end that you can turn off, I can't change my settings at all. Yeah, okay. I'll play Mr. Reliable and we'll see how we go. I think we need a little bit.
Came to me in a dream. Said you need to be humble to lead the right life. I told him I needed more sign, vision, and reinvention. Elvis came to me in a dream. Said you need your same dance floor to lead the right life. I told him I needed more sign, vision, and reinvention. When I make sense of it all, when I eat the bowl, I'm gonna be Mr. Reliable. Santiago came to me in a dream. Said you need a long way to lead the right life. I told him I needed more sign, vision, reinvention. When I make sense of it all, I need to go. I'm gonna be Mr. Reliable. Mr. Reliable. Mr. Reliable. Mr. Reliable. Someone that you can love. My brother came to me in a dream. Said you need to clear the air to lead the right line. I told him I needed more sign and vision reinvention. Oh, when I find what I'm looking for somewhere along the way, I'm gonna be Mr. Reliable. Mr. Reliable, Mr. Reliable, Mr. Reliable, someone that you can love, someone you can believe, someone you can have faith in, someone that you can stand by, someone that you can love, someone you can believe in, someone you can have faith in, someone that you can stand by, someone that you can love. So I recorded the song. I love it. It's so great. It's played on the radio here in Australia, and it's doing really well. In fact, the whole album's doing really well, and it's all because of the kindness of Pilgrims. And it's so fantastic. I love every minute of it. And we had really quite an amazing time. It was an incredible journey, and I promised I'd never do it again, but I think I'm about to break that promise. So I'll let you know when I do, if I do. Yeah, but I was just talking to somebody who's on the Camino right now, and they're walking in snow, and it's so beautiful. There's a lot of albergues, they tell me, that are staying open because, like Spain, like a lot of other places in the world, the cost of living crisis is out of control. So this place is staying open so that they can make a bit of extra cash in the winter. So my friends were saying it's really lovely walking in snow, and there's other pilgrims, quite a number apparently, walking this time of year. So it's so exciting. I wanted to talk about two friends of mine who are in the United States, Carl, who's in Pennsylvania, and Brian, who's in California. They come to my gigs over there. They even came up to Canada to see me play up there. And they're just such terrific fellows, and I really love their friendship so much, and the kindness that they show to me and to one another. But it's this coming together of two separate people from different parts of the world, but different parts of the United States. And we were in Tahoe. Those of you who were at that conference will remember that first day. We were unsure whether we were even going to go ahead with the conference. I remember poor old Sarah was like freaking out and texting me saying, "Oh, we're going to most probably cancel everything." But a handful of us stayed. Well, maybe not a handful, but maybe 100 or something stayed and had a wonderful, wonderful gathering. It was fabulous. And I saw snowfall for the first time there that weekend. And so there were, every cloud has a silver lining, as they say. And it was really fantastic. But on that day that we arrived, and I had flown into Los Angeles and had performed at my friend Bernie's place in San Diego, and then I went up to San Francisco, and I'm trying to remember where I flew to, but it doesn't matter. And my friend Brian said, "I'll drive you out to Lake Tahoe." So we had the drive out together. I didn't know Brian at all, but he very kindly offered to drive me out there, and we became great friends as a result of that drive. And he and I were standing in the soaking up the sun there at Tahoe, and this fellow came up to us and introduced himself as Carl. So we went down to the water's edge, and I had to try and find reception to call my wife to say that I was okay, that I'd got to Lake Tahoe okay. And so I'm talking to my wife, and I could hear Brian and Carl talking. When they introduced themselves to one another, they realized that they were both Vietnam veterans from the US. And they struck up this incredible friendship, the pair of them, which was really beautiful and really moving. And I went home and thought about their friendship and what friendship means. First of all, when it's unexpected. And secondly, how special and precious in a way
the Camino friendships are. You meet people in a restaurant one night somewhere, and maybe you're in Tricastella, that funny place that seems to take forever to get your food, and you meet somebody there and walk with them the next day, and then next thing you know, you're still talking to them 5 years later, and you think, there's not many other places in the world where that happens, but the Caminos tends to lend itself to those friendships, and I treasure the friendships I have made via my Camino my Caminos, and in particular, the American Pilgrims on the Camino. Got some great friends via the American Pilgrims on the Camino. So I wrote this song called "I've Got a Friend in America," and I changed a couple of lyrics for the gathering in March in Texas, and I'm going to sing the version that I did in Texas, but I've got my 12-string out. Oh, what's a shame that the guitar's playing up or the audio's playing up. I'm so sorry. The settings I always use, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. We'll stumble on through, I suppose. But I want you all to know how precious and how special it is for me to have so many friends in America. This is for Brian and Carl.
I learned how to change a penny to a quarter at a fairground Saturday night. Hair rising up on the back of his neck, Deer Creek, Chesapeake. Redwood City, 1989, starts in Loma Prieta. Ditko and Lee's Captain Adam, evil jumping over Snake River. I got a friend in America. He's a proud, God-fearing man. I got a friend in America. He's got a friend in me. Giving thanks as Tahoe snow falls, a Pennsylvania prayer. The Susquehanna throws through her veins, skunk cabbage takes her home. I got a friend in America. She's a proud, God-fearing girl. I got a friend in America. She's got a friend in me. Taking home rescue dogs, little Ernie becoming a family. Full dive into the Guadalupe and songs from an American songbook. I got a friend in America. She's a proud, God-fearing girl. I got a friend in America. She's got a friend in me. Yeah, mountain laurel by the side of the road, twister coming over the ridge. Tornado of love and light, in an iron cross on a hill. I got a friend in America. He's a proud, God-fearing man. I got a friend in America. He's got a friend in me. I got a friend in America. She's a proud, God-fearing girl. I got a friend in America. She's got a friend. She's got a friend in me.
Oh, the little old 12-string there. And Rachel, the little dog, Ernie's tail was wagging, got a mention in the song. I want to, so I'm going to just quickly go back a little bit. I worked in radio for forever and ever and ever. These days I work in podcasts. And of course I have a podcast called My Camino that I'm just taking a little break for a couple of months. But this year's been super, super busy for me, and I just need to put my feet up for a bit of just to rest and recharge before next year. Actually, just finished reading Bill Bennett's book, The Way, My Way. I've done the audio book for it, so it's my voice and I read his book. So it'll be out in the next couple of weeks, which you can get. Great Christmas present. We're hoping to get it out in the next week or so. So that on top of all of my gigs, like 80 gigs in a year, and plus my full-time day job, plus my podcast, plus putting out an album, plus being a dad and a husband, trying to be as good at those most important roles as I can. This year's been really, really busy. But we had a party for our neighborhood last night, and all of the community came together, and we were sitting out in the back garden. And I just remember that it was a full moon and a beautiful mild night. I remember thinking, gosh, how lucky I am, and how lucky I am to be invited to do things like this, to spend an evening with you. It's your Saturday night, and I thank you so much for taking the time to join me, to have me in your home, and to have me in your lives. It's really a special thing for me, and I really, really appreciate it, and appreciate your kindness. I always have and always will, and in particular in relation to the podcast, because the numbers are still climbing all the time. I don't know. We've done 396 interviews, I think, or something like that, and we'll kick start it again early in the new year. But it's only a couple of weeks until Christmas, so when I was standing in my kitchen yesterday afternoon, that's where I do all my best thinking kitchen cooking, something to take to the community get together last night, and I was thinking, what will I play for these wonderful people, the American Pilgrims on the Camino tomorrow? And I don't know why I immediately thought of Silent Night, because it's Christmas, and I wanted to play something Christmassy for you. And it's pull the guitar down off the wall. I retired my old guitar, but it's here, look. Yeah, I had to retire it because it was all caving in. All the timbering and the soundboard was caving in at the front. You can't really see it, but it's pretty much cactus. But it hangs on the wall in my lounge. It's like so I pull it down and stand in the kitchen and play tunes, because the acoustics in the kitchen are so fantastic. And I pulled this down last night, but I just bought another one exactly the same. So I use that now. And yeah, that's Stella. Yeah, that's Stella. It's Stella, short for Compostella. Yeah, she's a little honey. But so I bought another one exactly the same. Haven't got a new name for this guitar yet. Sing it. Sing it. Hey. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round young virgin, mother and child, holy infant soul, tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Sign, oh, shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream
from here afar. Heavenly host singing, Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. Silent, holy night, Son of God, love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy with the dawn redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at my birth. Jesus, Lord, at birth. Silent night, Ours calm is bright, round young virgin child, holy infant, so tender, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. So we got shows this afternoon. I got a show this afternoon. I've got another 4 shows before Christmas, and I've been working on that song so I can sing it at these shows leading up to Christmas, which will be fantastic. And then the new year, I'm going to a wedding in Brazil in at Easter time. So lots of traveling again next year. And then 2026, I'm going to come to America, and my great friend Simon Byrne made a documentary, or is making a documentary, still doing the editing now, of my musical Camino, and it's called Somewhere Along the Way. And we're going to bring it to America in 2026, and I'm going to travel as well with Simon, and we're going to do shows right across America. We're going to meet everybody, show the film, sing songs, street parties. I don't know, wherever we can play, we'll play. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. So the year after next, this next 12 months is going to be all about consolidating the album and taking stock to spend a bit of time with family and friends. And yes, Sky, we will be coming to Canada. We will be in Canada. If we don't go to the Golden Horseshoe, I don't think I'll be not forgiven if I don't do that. I'll have to go to Canada. So yeah, so that's 2026, and I'd really love to see you all there, and the movie will be coming out as well. So it's going to be just fantastic. But most importantly, I would love to take this opportunity to say thank you for having me. I want to quickly tell a story about carrying this guitar across Spain on my back when I walked from Lourdes to Santiago in 2017. I walked 1,000 kilometers that year, and I carried that guitar on my back and sang for my supper each night. I sang in old barns and bars and all sorts of places, and it was just the most magical trip. And I was out on the Meseta and walking with walking poles, and the poles were going tick, 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 on the ground, and my feet were going. So it was going as I was walking. And I started singing somewhere along the way,
I hope you find what you're looking for somewhere along the way. Oh, what the heck is that song? I didn't know what song it was. I thought I was just making stuff up. And then I started to think about different things that I'd seen and heard, and I started just writing lines. So as I was walking across the Pyrenees, I was with an Australian guy, and he was in a dreadful mood because it was a very hard day. And you know those beautiful horses that have the eyelashes that, like, you know, they like this, and he was so cross they like ran away from him. And I thought, oh, he's so fun that he's frightening off the horses, you know. And I walked with a German guy, and I would say, what time are you walking tomorrow, Gunther? And he would say, 7 bells to 4. I think 7 bells to 4. 7 bells to 4. Oh, 7 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Oh, okay, right. And I walked with with a bunch of guys. One was Welsh and one was English, but they were brothers. One had been born in Wales, one had been born in England. And there was the Englishman was a lion's heart. His brother had an opening heart. He was a very closed man, but he was opening his heart. And their Danish friend had a soul as old as slate. You know, he was just such an old soul. And so I just, these characters and people, and a lot of you will have seen the park bench or the street bench that has written on it, you know, believe you can, you're halfway there. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said that. And it's on the Camino. And I lay beside the fountain in Castrejires, and I was so tired. I lay down beside the fountain in Castrejires in the main street there, and everybody was walking past, and their footsteps were like, I drifted off to sleep listening to their footsteps. And the archway in Saint Jean Pied de Port, you know, we all said, gathered in the night before we walked and said prayers there. And yes, sunflowers and the sunrise and the sunset, all these little things came to me. And I got to Hontanas that evening, and I had promised myself that no matter, if someone asked me to play a song, I would play for them. That was my promise. And I did it. I kept my promise across the whole of the Camino. And so walking into Hontanas, there was a group of fellows drinking in that bar that has a big beer garden. As you walk into town, you walk down the hill and it's kind of up higher. And they said, oh, El Peregrino Cantante, El Peregrino Cantante. The singing pilgrim, come and sing for us. Ah, dang. Okay, so I had to go. I'll forget that song for sure, you know. But an hour later, I was playing Neil Diamond songs for them and stuff, you know. And I get into town, and I thought, I've forgotten that song for sure. What a shame. But then I sat down in the cafe in the heart of the square there, opposite the little church, and wrote it out in one go. Just, it was, every lyric was there. I've never changed anything. And I came back to Australia and I recorded it, and it did really, really well. And it's been really a gift that keeps giving. And as we approach Christmas next week or the week after, I hope to send a little love your way for you and yours. And from this little studio where I sit in Sydney, thanks for having me. Thanks for the love and kindness that you all have shown me. It means the world to me and my family, and I hope to continue to be a presence in your lives, with the podcast coming back in the new year, and coming over to see you in 2026 and doing some shows, and maybe I can do a show in your backyard, which would be fabulous. But this song is called Somewhere Along the Way, and it's been a gift, as I said, that keeps giving. It's brought us all together a number of times. And the best part about it is it's brought us together today. So thank you so much for having me on your Saturday night in the United States of America. It's so exciting. Oh, in Canada, in North America, let me say that. It's so exciting for me to be with you. And I'm so proud to have been asked. This is Somewhere Along the Way. And Tom, if you want to ask me some questions afterwards, I'm happy to take questions, but I'm just mindful of the dodgy sound. It's sad, but anyway. Somewhere along the way. All right now. El Camino roses, Santo Domingo, leave you here halfway there. 7 bills to 4, riding off the horses, and also the ladies, lions heart open and high, and a soul's old slave somewhere along the way, somewhere along the way. I hope you find joy somewhere along the way. Cellos on the sounding board, beneath the field of stars. Now young people growing, crossing fields of fire. Will you walk beside me? Will you lead the way? Your footsteps by the mountain, oh, they carry me away. Somewhere along the way, somewhere along, I hope you find what you're looking for. Somewhere along the way, and will I ever forget Spanish sunrise, Spanish sunset? El peregrino contente, the fullness of press beneath the arches, and sunflowers bloom. Words on parchment paper, fill an empty room. I hope this blessing, such as it is, find you in full bloom. Somewhere along the way, somewhere along, I hope you find what you're looking for. Somewhere along the way, somewhere along the way, somewhere along, I hope you find what you're looking for. Somewhere along the way. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Joe.
So Dan, your voice came across great when you were talking. It came across very clear. It was great. We understood every word. It was just unusual for you. It was just the music that was the guitar that was a little muffled. And Sky dropped in as Sky drops in from the sky. She said that she did some research and said that this Zoom product the bandwidth is not so good when you have so many people watching. It somehow disrupts the bandwidth.
Oh.
So Sky seemed to have a handle on that. If you don't mind, just a couple of quick questions, especially for those folks that are tuned in here this evening for this special meet and greet with you. And that is, you've done now what, 4 Caminos or 5?
4.
4. Each of the 4 were very, very different. I mean, when you think about your path, what you were doing, who you were with, they couldn't be more different almost. You're pretty much all on the same Camino at the same ending, but you can't really rank which was your favorite, which was the best, right?
Oh, No, I can't. I couldn't do that. But I have to say that this last one with the Camino musical, Dan's magical musical Camino was so fantastic, Tom. It was so special. It was so lovely. Having you there for the last couple of days was terrific too. Yeah, and that was really something special. That was something just amazing. With people from all around the world, you know. Um, I yeah.
And you're responsible for all of them almost. I mean, you sort of were, you know, you were the driving force of them coming out there and keeping them going.
I think the collective spirit was more responsible for that than me. I think the collective spirit, everybody was so generous and so kind and so open to being part of that event, that it was the collective spirit really that gave it its momentum. So we walked from Leon to Santiago, just under 2 weeks. We took, I think we did 12 shows in those 14 days. Or maybe it was 10 shows in 12 days. I can't remember now. But really, it was the kindness of the people that gave it its momentum, Tom. And it was just people being nice. People being kind, and people being loving and open and accepting. And not everybody was, you know, super perfect or anything, but even then, everyone was kind.
So, you know, when everybody got to Santiago, everybody was so happy. They were, I guess you would say, inspired by the group, the Camino, and it was a success in that way. But Dan, when you think about it, it was not without challenges. The weather, I mean, we
Yeah,
had beautiful weather, no challenges, nobody got sick one way or the other. No, it was filled with challenges, and yet everybody supported each other, and
yeah,
everybody wound up in Santiago happy. And
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and they were pilgrims.
Yeah. So I had a tummy bug. I got the at that time of that year, there was a really, really bad gastro bug going throughout the Camino and pilgrim community in Spain. And I caught it and it first appeared in Osabrero, and so I couldn't walk for 2 or 3 days. And then I started to walk again, and I did a couple of days, but it was very, very challenging. And then on the very last day, O Pedrezo, I felt okay in the morning, but after an hour, I thought, oh no, no, I'm really ill. Like I was violently ill. And I got to the little cafe by the side of the road in O Pedrezo that has a garden there. And I thought, oh, I might even have to go to a hospital. I was so sick. And Jackie and Sarah and Dave and they came together and they prayed on me. They laid their hands and prayed on me. And I felt it, Tom. I felt this overwhelming feeling of lightness, and I felt this incredible surge of love. And I had called my wife, Jen, and said, are you going to have to come and pick me up, love? So she came in, she said, I'm outside. So I staggered up to the car and got in the car and put the seat down so that I was, you know, lying down, and she raced me into Santiago, and we went to see a pharmacist. And I thought, I just have to have something has to fix me. But I kept this prayer, you know, that was like in the kind of in the forefront of my mind in a way, that it'll be okay because of that prayer. Everything, I had a show to do that night. It'll be okay because of that prayer. Something will happen. Something will change. And in the most, forgive me, please. I don't usually use this thing. I said to the pharmacist, "Oh, I have this terrible. Do you speak English?" She said, "Yeah, you know." And I said, "I have this terrible tummy bug, you know." Oh, she said, "Here." She went over to the counter and pulled this thing down and said, "Get here." She put it down in front of me. She said, "Here, take this. 3 hours, no more shitting." And I said, "What? Really? Really?" She said, yes. Take it now. So she went to the fridge and took out a bottle of water and poured it in there, shook it up, and I drank it. By the time I got out to the car, I could feel the change. And an hour later, I was sitting with you all in the garden of a terrace garden, waiting for everyone to come into Santiago so that we could all walk into the square together. It was as if I was healed. It was like a miracle, like that. And it was the most incredible thing. And I still say it was because of that prayer, the prayer in that cafe. It's totally that led me to see that woman in the pharmacy, and for her to say straight away, "I know what that is," and she fixed me straight away. I was able to do the show that night. I had no more symptoms. It was a miracle. It was incredible.
There were several nights on the Camino that you performed under not the best circumstances. You were feeling ill. We could tell you were feeling ill, but you kept playing. You gave it your all. You gave it your heart and soul.
I started singing a song. I remember starting to sing a song, and I started to play it. And halfway through the first line, I went, "Oh, wait a minute! I've just finished playing that song."
Yeah.
I've never ever done that before in my entire life. And I'm talking about thousands of gigs that I've done. I've never sung the same song twice. That was yeah.
And you played through a COVID epidemic here in America in 2020. You've played under all kinds of different challenges, and you really are Mr. Reliable. And I think that's what people love about you, Dan, is you are reliable. And we so much appreciate that. Do we have the video set up, Joe, or if Martin's there? Okay, so we do have the video, Dan.
We'll see how we do on AV on this one.
Yeah, we'll see if that's better. So this is a video, and it was recorded by who did the videography?
So this is Simon Byrne. Is this? Yeah. So this is a trailer for Simon's documentary, which is coming out in the new year. We were going to release it on a sort of pay-per-view, whatever, but I think he's going to take it to film festivals now. He's very, very pleased with his first edit, and we're all excited to see it. He's a really very, very talented and beautiful human being. And yeah, this is the trailer for Simon's work. It's exquisite. Yeah.
Okay. Joe?
I felt a little tinge in my throat and I started coughing.
Oh.
And I coughed and coughed and coughed. Coughed so hard I blacked out. My voice was getting worse, day after day, worse and worse and worse. I think I need to see a doctor. We went ahead with the procedure, and afterward he said to me, "It didn't work. You'll probably never sing again." What? I was determined not to stop. I was at home writing songs, determined not to give up. I knew that one day I would sing again. And at the end of that process, I needed to tell the story. I needed this to be an album of songs that tell stories. How on earth do you fund an album like that? Jen came up with this great idea. Why don't we invite people to walk the Camino with you? They can contribute, and that will fund the album. You can do concerts along the Camino.
El Camino roses, Santo Domingo crows. Believe you can, you're halfway there. 7 bells to 4. Riding off the horses, and old soul awaits. A told as old as slave. Somewhere along the way, somewhere along the way, I hope you find what you're looking for. Somewhere along the way, cellos on a soundboard beneath a field of stars. La familiar growing, crossing fields afar. Will you walk beside me?
Wells me up a bit.
Will you lead the way?
And it was just the most profound experience I've ever had.
Yeah, it's very special.
Santiago came to me in a dream. Said you need a long walk to lead the right line. I told him I needed more, a sign, a vision, a reinvention.
Nobody's ever done this before.
When I find what I'm looking for, somewhere along the way, I'm gonna be
It's a matter of choice whether we accept the Holy Spirit or not.
Mr. Reliable.
Concerts are great, the food is great, and Spain is great.
Mr. Reliable.
We're going to finish this, get it out into the universe, and see what the Camino provides.
Everybody is applauding you, Dan, and we thank you so much for joining us this evening and everything you've done for the Camino global community. You've been giving us 400 podcasts, giving us songs, giving us your heart and soul. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Tom. And I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for the love and kindness that the American Pilgrims on the Camino have given me. And a Merry Christmas to you all. Have a wonderful Christmas, everyone. Thanks so much.
Merry Christmas to you, Dan, and to your family. Merry Christmas. Thank you.